It's the Exit 52 podcast presented by Jimmy's Seafood, back for a spooky recording here on Halloween night. It's myself, Taylor Smyth, Banks. It's Arditti. Banks is wearing a ref outfit. Arditti coming off a trick or treat, but then a non.
People with headphones are gonna love that.
Yeah, gonna love that. But then
I could have really blown it.
Yeah, that may have sent everyone away from this episode. Arditti dealing with sicknesses among his designated trick-or-treater. Very sad to hear that.
Literally yesterday morning, taking her to school, I was like, man, we haven't been sick. Like, she hasn't been sick in a long time. Like, the ultimate announcer's jinx. It was awful. Like, could not have jinxed it any worse. Comes home from daycare with a 101 fever. We're sitting at 101.8 right now. So can't wait to get whatever she has. So
that's not fun at all.
No.
But hopefully everyone had fun with their Halloween weekends, any Halloween plans they had tonight on the day. We are here to chat about some more Baltimore sports. And guys, the big storyline of the day, trade deadline day in the NFL. Ravens stand pat, don't make a move. A lot of rumors flying around throughout the last 72 hours or so about potential really more than 72 hours, last week or so, I would say, about guys that can potentially come here. Ravens ultimately don't make a move. If you want to go listen to Jake and Spenny's take on that, they recorded a jumbo set with a little bit of a live reaction to it. But Banks, I'll throw it to you. Disappointment about a lack of trade, not disappointed. Where do you kind of stand on this trade deadline situation where it's so funny? Like, in the NFL, the trade deadline is not really a place where historically things have been done that make a difference really in the race for the Super Bowl. And yet some of the consternation amongst Ravens fans was fascinating to me. It's like, wow, how could they not make a move? It just doesn't necessarily happen. I know Roquan Smith happened, but it doesn't necessarily happen.
Yeah, who needs a trade? We're 6-2. We're flying high. We're playing good football. Certainly there are pieces that you could fix, but every team has pieces it could fix. And I think we've been spoiled a little bit with the Marcus Peters trade in 2019, the Roquan Smith trade in 2022. Yes, there's been an uptick in activity at the NFL trade deadline, and in years past, it's become a little more in vogue to try to do something in the deadline after there were like years and years of like nobody even blinked when the NFL trade deadline passed. But there's nothing out there at the right price other than maybe Chase Young for the third rounder. Like, that one was maybe one we could have pulled the trigger on, but we've got bodies, and Jadeveon Clowney's that have been playing really awesome football. I don't think that's been highlighted enough in the way that it should. And Owe coming back, it's the same old story with him. I don't even know if we touched on that. Him chasing Josh Dobbs like 25 yards back and not getting the sack on that was
like
bad. Vintage. Like start the highlight tape with that for him. But it's just not that sport. People want it to be the NBA free agency day one and want it to be fireworks and all this good stuff. And it's just not a sport where you can just plug and play and acclimate new players in. And, a pass rusher is probably the place where something could have happened worthwhile. It didn't come to fruition. Sometimes that happens. It's okay. It's nothing to slam the panic button about. I've been like pounding my fist on the table that we're fine at running back. We could have added a depth piece for a late round pick, but we didn't need to go out and get a Travis Henry. Like a Josh Jacobs would probably
Travis Henry, huh?
Did I say?
He was a good Titans running back.
Travis Henry was a good running back.
He also has like 12 kids by like 9 different women. So
my flags are downstairs. I forgot the flags. I almost did it again. We didn't need Derrick Henry. Josh Jacobs would have been, I don't know, a good piece in the room. But at the end of the day, I'm here for goddamn roses for Gus Edwards. I feel like we just look past this guy and look to replace him or supplement with him all the time. He's a dude. He's a bona fide one. Let him be a one. Let him eat. Like, his yards per carry are near the top in NFL history. I know there's a lot of context behind that, but he's a guy, and he's proven year after year after year. He's had a couple injuries. He's come back from them, reproven himself. How many times does this guy have to prove himself and put up results before he gets respect like some of these other guys in the league? Drives me nuts. We're fine at running back.
I think there's no doubt that he also made a little bit of a statement if the Ravens were going back and forth on making a move with the performance he had Sunday as well. where he sort of, led the way there. I didn't watch a ton of that game because of my job responsibilities, but just seeing the stat line, that's one where you're like, okay, like we can move on with this guy and a few other people around him. I agree with you with your overall theory there. It's a little bit of an ain't broke, don't fix it. If there's someone there for the right price, go get him. I think the thing that maybe adds to the stress is that San Francisco went in hard and got a guy like Chase Young to go out there. I don't know what the Bears are doing trading for Montez Sweat. That is one of the, what a robbery for the Commanders to get a second round pick there.
It's gonna be top 40.
Let's take a step back from that. Let's look at the Bears and look at their track record and them just as a franchise. They did the nonsense Chase Claypool trade last year. They traded us their best asset last year as well. There's some more context behind that with the contract situation, but they just do loser things, and loser football teams, for the most part, go crazy and try to make things happen when they don't need to happen. And that's what the Bears are doing. And we're working the way that we work.
Yeah.
Why would we not be behind that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there was just so much, noise around that running back spot that I think people just assumed the move was going to be made. I never really thought they were going to make a move. It didn't make a ton of sense in a world where like running backs are so interchangeable, going out and giving up a legitimate asset for a rental. And yes, it stinks because, man, the Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson backfield just would have been fun. It would have been ridiculous, and entertaining. I just don't think, we talked about the Titans side of it. It's like, the perception of them trading their franchise player for a 5th or 6th round pick is just something they can't stomach, which is fine. And I think that the Raiders are just in shock that it's gone this poorly. Their issues are not really they need a quarterback, but their issues is that they hired a guy that's just not a head coach, and that they're going to have to get rid of. They bet on the wrong horse there, but I like where the Ravens are. It doesn't annoy me that they didn't make a trade. Sure, if they could have found someone for the right price, it would have excited people, but I think they've kind of done their work, franchise building, and I guess as I said, the exact same phrase at the Orioles trade deadline. Sure, maybe we can come back if they lose a division round game and think like, oh my gosh, if they had this guy or this guy, maybe it changes things. But I do think they're in a good spot, and I think they feel confident about their group. It seems to be, and also sometimes the trade just doesn't materialize. Like they could have been in deep with a variety of different things, and sometimes you just doesn't happen, and there's nothing they can do. Mike Elias sort of hinted at that at the when he talked after the MLB trade deadline. I was like, look, like we got deep on some things, and sometimes the trade just doesn't happen. They go somewhere else, or someone offers more, or whatever it may be. So,
well, and like Brian, you brought up the Chase Young, and yeah, a lot of people were talking about that, like, oh my God, only a 3rd round pick. There very well may have been that the Commanders just would not trade him there. No, we're not sending our number 2 overall pick, 2020 or whatever. We're not sending him to Baltimore. Like we're just, not to be a petty move, but just to be like, no, we're not letting him just go up 95 and sending him there. Like, again, it takes 2 to tango. Like you said, sometimes these trades just may not have come together, or maybe, again, maybe the other teams just were like, we're not going to make that move. It doesn't really benefit us. So I wasn't really shocked that the Ravens stood, pat. I think everyone wanted the running back because it's the sexy move. Like, oh yeah, you go get a Henry or you go get this. Obviously fans want it, but it's not Madden. Again, like you don't just trade these guys to trade them. I think Henry, again, he would have had to restructure his contract, I think by 4:00 yesterday. And they, I think Schefter came out and was like, when that didn't happen, that made it much less likely that they were going to move him. And I think he was owed $5.5 million going into this week. And yes, he could have eaten, the Titans would have eaten some of that, but I don't know. It just didn't seem to make sense that they were going to make that trade. And Taylor, you talked about it. Like I talked to people about it being like this, like if I'm Amy Adams, who, I'm not sending the 2nd best player that's ever played for the franchise and a future Hall of Famer to a rival for a 2nd day pick. Yes, he's a free agent at the end of the year and he's probably going to walk. But again, the optics of it look awful. Like you're not going to do that. You've already got a fractured fan base because the team stinks. You're not going to fracture even more of them by sending Derrick Henry, to again the team that that nobody really likes down there. So I never thought that was really the move, unless they got blown away, unless it was like a 2nd and a 4 or something like that, which again, it would have been a huge overpay, I think, by the Ravens. But I don't know. It didn't, again, like we said, we want the trade deadline to be this like big, sexy, like you said, opening day of NFL free agency where it's moves flying. It's not going to be, and I don't think it ever will be. That's just not how NFL, like Brian said, loser teams try and make it like a big thing. The Bears, the Reds, the Commanders, stuff like that. It's never going to be how like a championship team goes out and like solidifies that they're going to, that they're going for it.
I also think
that's in the draft and free agency.
I know the Titans stink. I also think they can look at this.
Does not stink though.
Well, this is the thing. After that happens, and then they look at their schedule, I think they think that the wild card isn't totally out of play.
Yeah,
and it's if they can get that kind of quarterback play, they go at Steelers, now we're doing a Titans podcast, but at Steelers, at Bucks,
people are gonna love this.
At Jags, Panthers, Colts. I mean, that's pretty manageable. Like you could go like if you go 4-1 there, you're like right back into it. They probably won't do that because they do stink, but whatever. So yeah, I think that the Ravens have, put themselves in a position where, they're potentially the class of the AFC, or among the class of the AFC. And I don't think anything not done on trade deadline day is necessarily going to prevent them from accomplishing their goals. So I think there's a little bit of an overreaction sometimes when a move is not made. But as you said, Arditti, I think you put it right. Like the names getting tossed around were sexy names. Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Chase Young, pass rushers, running backs. It's like, oh my God, that'd be great. If they went out and traded for a guard, I think people were like, oh, okay, whatever.
Well, and also it's not like if the Bengals would have gone out and added someone, then that's when I think Ravens fans would have been like, all right, now we need to make a move. Like I think, and we said it for like 4 years running now, like the Ravens roster is a Super Bowl roster. Like, I don't think anyone's really, you can't dispute that. And again, the way they're playing, it's like they're probably the best team in the AFC right now. Could be the best team in the entire NFL because nobody else wants to be good, which is crazy right now. But again, like it's not like the Bengals went out and did anything. Everyone else in that division stinks. Joe Burrow he looks much healthier than he did, a month ago, 3 weeks ago. So if they would have gone out and added, I don't know, if they would have gotten some secondary piece or added some guys on defense, then I think the Ravens fans would have been right to be like, oh shit, maybe we should have done something. They didn't. So, and again, I think the Ravens are still fine with their depth and with the guys they have. So it's never going to be the sexy thing that the NFL wants it to be, but it's people are still upset about it. But tomorrow, I don't think anyone's going to be like, can't believe we didn't get Saquon, or can't believe we didn't get, didn't trade for Jacobs or, any of those guys. So
any final thoughts, B?
No, I'm ready to keep it rolling. We're playing good football. We got some things to clean up, but we're trending in the right direction, and we got it's gauntlet season coming in here. The rest of the way, there's really no Sundays off. So
there was no gauntlet last year. There was what was it, the hate month 2 years ago?
Yeah, hate month was tough.
Yeah,
that one didn't go our way.
No, that was 2020.
I don't know. I don't remember which year it was, but it was a tough one. I think it was 2021 because it was for the revenge on all the 2020 mishappenings.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. I can't remember, but yeah. And all I know is again, I put it out on Twitter. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together that when the Titans are playing the Steelers, that I would drink the cup of coffee with mayonnaise in it if they beat the Steelers on Thursday, live on the podcast. So the viewers are welcome. And I hope everyone is ready.
That thing?
Yeah, I tweeted that.
For this Thursday?
Yeah.
You will drink a cup of coffee with mayonnaise in it if the Titans beat the Steelers. It's in Pittsburgh, correct?
Correct.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. They're going to do it. So
yeah, I think they're going to win too.
They're just such a fraudulent football team. I cannot state it enough.
The Steelers?
Yeah. It's just a matter of if like your offensive line can just merely hold it together enough to not have that backbreaking strip sack.
Yeah.
It's going to happen at some point, but are you going to recover it? Are you going to fall on it? Is it going to get, return for a touchdown? It's really what it's going to come down to. Just garbage like that.
Well, and again, Spenny, I don't know, Taylor, if you saw, Spenny said, you should man up and eat a whole jar of mayonnaise. And I said, that's someone on the podcast has literally already done that. So like, we're not.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if he's familiar with my prior work, but I literally ate mayonnaise on Twitter live.
Someone was like, "You need to do like mayonnaise and mustard." And I was like, "What are we doing?"
Let me tell you something. It's like all fun and games talking about. I didn't obviously eat a full jar of mayonnaise. I was like eating mayonnaise in creative ways at a certain point, but I was eating scoops at certain. It's disgusting just to have the scoop with the like legitimately disgusting. So trying to get through a jar, I would have died getting through a jar, like legitimately died. So
I don't want to skip on your
no, do whatever you want. I'll never do it again. I will never do it again.
How did that sit?
It was fine.
Yeah.
What did you eat for dinner that night? Like, did you go home and have something like light? You can't like put Chipotle on top of that or something.
Well, we flew back and they just like give you.
I can't imagine.
Well, it's a charter, so it's not like you're like going through security and like you're just walking on into the plane. But and they're just giving you food the whole time because they're giving all the players food. I actually got back and went to Mum's in Fed Hill when I got back from the flight. So, but it said okay. I didn't feel great like right after the game, but we were like the vibes were flowing, so it was sort of just like that was preventing me maybe from feeling worse than I would have. But I can't wait to watch. I agree with Brian. I think that the Titans are going to win this game. I think the Steelers are fraudulent. You know who else I think is fraudulent? The Seahawks, who the Ravens are about to play this Sunday.
That's going to be interesting.
Drinking the Kool-Aid so much.
I think it's going to be, and again, they talked about it on the Jumbo set. I'm sure. I would hope so. I think it's going to be like a similar to the Lions game, where I think they're going to come in being like, this could be a good game, and then it's like it's 21-7 going into the second quarter or something like that.
Well, it's NFC Lamar, so
yeah,
it's NFC Lamar. Not only is it NFC Lamar, it's
flying east.
A Seahawks team that has beaten Detroit, so that's their most impressive one. We just saw what the Ravens did to Detroit, and then other than that, this schedule is terrible. Lost to LA week 1, beat the Panthers by 10 in week 3, beat the terrible Giants in week 4, bye week, lost to Cincy, beat Arizona by 10 at home, beat Cleveland by 4 at home. There's just not a lot convincing there. Mm-hmm. So I think the Ravens will, this is famous last words because the NFL never works out how it's supposed to. I think the Ravens are going to kind of do what they want this weekend.
Mm-hmm. I think it is going to be fun watching DK versus the Ravens secondary.
Well, DK is hurt every week.
That's true.
If you have him on fantasy, he's got the designation next to him every week. I mean, he is just, I don't know.
We have to be the most physical secondary in the league. I think if anyone's going to be able to kind of handle what he brings to the table, it's going to be us.
Mm-hmm.
So
should be a fun one though, because again they play. This seems like a team where again it's like I always try and think of like I could not think of the Browns playing the Seahawks any other time other than last weekend, and the only 2 times I can remember the Ravens playing the Seahawks are the Marcus Peters revenge game, and then the big comeback that the Ravens had in 2004 or something like that.
I also just think this Geno Smyth renaissance is a really nice story, and you have to respect the fact that he got that career easily could have just gone off the wayside and he got a big contract. Mm-hmm. He's just not winning this game. I just don't think it never made any sense to me they would commit to him long term because I just don't see how he ever wins you this kind of game. And like I said, I could be totally wrong, but they've got San Francisco 2 more times. They've got Philly at home. I think they have maybe reached the peak and are now going to descend a little bit as they go. They're at Dallas. I mean, they have a tough schedule. At one point they go home for San Francisco, at Dallas, at San Francisco, home for Philly. That's a tough 4 games.
I think on Pardon My Take going into last week, Big Cat talked about wanting to place a future on the Seahawks winning the division and the 49ers getting the wild card, but the 49ers winning the Super Bowl. He wanted to try and parlay all those, and he couldn't. But then he looked at the schedule and was like, oh, never mind. This schedule is like the schedule from hell. This is awesome.
Yeah, they have a tough schedule. So we will have a Ravens preview coming out later in the week, but figured we'd touch on it briefly. 1:00. CBS's best game and one of the all-time bad slates I think I've ever seen for a Sunday network.
Awful.
Just terrible.
Yeah. The overall week slate is awesome, though. The Germany game is as good an international game as there's been. Sunday night is Bengals Bills.
Should be good.
We'll run through it because we're just kind of doing that right now on this show. Thursday's Tennessee, Pittsburgh. We already talked about that. Miami, Kansas City is the game in Frankfurt. Minnesota at Atlanta. Arizona at Cleveland. LA at Green Bay. Oh my God. Commanders at Patriots is wonderfully poised to be a hell of a game.
Did you see?
Oh my goodness.
I like seeing some of the Boston media today being like, confirming source, nobody called the Patriots about Mac Jones. And I was like, oh, okay, good. Like, thank God.
The slate is good because you have anchor games. I mean, at one, Ravens Seattle is a game between two teams that are really good. You have the morning game that's good. You have 4:00 Dallas Philly, which is fantastic. You have Buffalo Cincy on Sunday night, and then the Chargers Jets is kind of a ridiculous Monday night game, where anything involving the Jets is just worth the price of admission because of how weird they are. But yeah, it's pretty good. There's also some bad games, like Chicago, New Orleans is a really bad game. Tampa, Houston's not a very good game.
Tampa, Houston.
The worst. These might be the two worst teams in football. The Giants and the Raiders play this weekend. The Raiders are so bad, so bad.
Watching Jimmy G on Monday night. I mean, number one, he was getting murdered. I thought he tore his ACL on that hit in the end zone. And then just watching the body language of everyone on that team as he overthrew Davante Adams every single time.
Davante Adams has got to be losing his mind. Talk about a tough situation.
I tweeted it last night and was like, Davante Adams leaves Green Bay. Maybe that was weird with them, but he leaves Green Bay. He goes to Oakland. He goes to Vegas with his best friend Derek Carr. His best friend gets cut, signs with the Saints, and now he's stuck with Jimmy G. I mean, that's tough for him because again that team is going nowhere. Like you said, McDaniels is a dead duck. That guy sucks. He doesn't know what he's doing. We talk about over their head, like he's in way over his head. He's just
that's the perfect way to put it.
No control, no nothing on that team. So hard to feel bad for a guy like Davante Adams. He doesn't seem like a bad guy, like he's not a dickhead or anything like that. But man, that's rough. Very rough.
Let's do a quick Orioles discussion here. Try to get some just Orioles talking week to week as we do the show as we head towards the offseason. World Series game, a laugher tonight. As the Rangers are taking full control, and rightfully so. They've clearly been the best team in the playoffs. Jim Bowden of The Athletic did his top 40 free agents. Arditti, you tweeted the common theme with his ones that were a best fit for the Orioles were all pitchers. So we will go around the horn here. Of these guys, who would you, if you're the Orioles, go with? You have them listed from highest ranked on the list to lowest ranked.
I went right down the list, and I was reading the top 40, and whoever the Orioles were whoever they were mentioned under, I wrote their name down.
Jordan Montgomery, Aaron Nola, Sonny Gray, Eduardo Rodriguez, Lucas Giolito, Andrew Heaney, and Kyle Gibson. And to put this in some context before we give our answers, he has a potential Montgomery contract at 5 years, $127 million, and a potential Gibson contract at 1 year, $8 million with incentives. So we are in the full range of what you want to do for starting pitching help. So RDT, of those guys, who would you take based on obviously what they can contribute, but also taking into account the money and the years and all those different things?
Realistically, I think a Sonny Gray and I think an Eduardo Rodriguez and someone like Lucas Giolito would fit in that. Like, again, Giolito had a bad year. He got traded. He was on like 3 different teams. He was really bad. I think he was like the first player since like 1840 to give up 8 earned runs in a game for 3 different teams in a season, which seems that's incredible.
What a stat.
Like it's not 18 whatever I said, but it's like the first guy in X amount since the Richmond, go-getters or something like that. But I think guys like Nolan, Montgomery are priced out of their range. I think Sonny Gray is a perfect kind of fit for them. Eduardo Rodriguez made a lot of sense. That name was kind of floated at the deadline, and he obviously turned down, which again is one of the weirder things that wasn't really talked about. Eduardo Rodriguez turning down getting traded to the Dodgers to stay in Detroit. I would love to have him back. And then a guy like Lucas Giolito, I think, is someone who the Orioles could throw into their pitching lab and mess around with an arm slot or something mechanical and see if they can kind of fix them. But those are the 3 guys that I'm kind of really looking at. It wouldn't shock me if they brought back Kyle Gibson. I don't think they will. But again, if it's like, if it's I don't know. I mean, he could be a guy that they can stash, and if he's fine with going down to AAA for, and just kind of hanging out and getting a paycheck, and if they need an arm, they can call him up. But those are kind of the guys that I'm looking at: the Sonny Gray, Eduardo, and Giolito. Because I don't think Nola is realistic, and same thing with Montgomery. Montgomery's probably made himself $90 million this postseason alone.
Agreed.
He's been awesome. So, and same thing with Nola. Nola had some, I think, a tough start. I think in the NLCS, yes. But other than that, he's been a fucking dog for the Phillies. So
Gray, the contract prediction is 3 years, 64. Rodriguez, the contract prediction is 5 for 90, and Giolito, the contract prediction, is 2 for 24.
Mm-hmm. I think that's why I think just looking at that number, the 2 for 24, it's like, oh, I can see the Orioles again doing something like that and trying to
stomaching not committing long-term money. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Banks, where do you fall on this discussion?
I think Eric's pretty spot on in terms of if we're talking about realistic moves. It's that Montgomery and Nola they're just not in the picture. Would like to lean towards a left-handed pitcher here. I think the rotation could use one, which makes Montgomery like the pie in the sky guy. But I do kind of tend to shy away from like that guy that just has a great postseason, but realistically is not going to repeat some of those successes. I mean, he's been consistent over the last couple of years, but it seems like Eduardo is like right in that middle ground where he's somewhat affordable at that 5 for 90 number. Whether or not that number actually lands there or not, we'll see. 30 years old, you'd sign him up for, into his mid 30s. And, he's like, I guess he's a known entity somewhat. And then Giolito for that 2 for 24 just sounds like that bargain bin type of deal. 2 for 24 would be a steal for what he's capable of. And you have to like the way that our organization has turned around some arms in recent years. Like somehow we became maybe a haven for reclamation projects, which is just so unheard of. It's such a weird thing for us to say here in Baltimore, but maybe that makes sense. And maybe this is that pivotal point where I know I hate myself for saying it, but maybe maybe this is where it finally comes to have some real dividends.
I'm on over the good side.
I think you make a great point about the idea of like the bargain sort of shopping type of deal. And that's where Giolito, if that's actually what he ends up going for, that just seems like something they would do at this point if they still don't really, if there's two facets. One, they feel like they need to keep their longer term money invested in some of their younger stars and don't want to go into free agency and commit to a pitcher that maybe then during the season they go trade for one to make a run, as opposed to like going and getting Jordan Montgomery for 5 years and committing $170 million. I think you guys are both spot on there. I think like not only does that move not make sense for what the Orioles habitually do, but I also think his price is extremely inflated based on his last 3.5 months of performance, which I don't think is a reason you sign a guy to 5 years for that many. I mean, Nola is a proven commodity over the course of a number of years, and I think would be awesome to have, but it just doesn't feel like they'll do that. I think the Giolito one makes the most sense of the guys in this list. I don't really know. I agree. I don't like they could bring back Kyle Gibson. I don't think that moves the needle at all. Heaney's on this list for the Orioles as well as a left-handed pitcher. He's not that overly impressive. I think you're just signing him. You're essentially doing the exact same thing you've done the last few years with the starting pitching they've gone and gotten. I think Giolito is like an upgrade from those guys, but also not the price commitment that the Orioles is not over the price commitment the Orioles seem to be willing to make when they go into free agency. But we'll see. Maybe it will truly be a liftoff and they do go get a guy like Rodriguez and commit some more dollars and years to him. But ultimately, I think their quality of pitcher they can actually to go get one is actually probably through a trade, and maybe they go get somebody that's already signed a little longer term through trade than actually going in the open market where pitching prices get inflated and trying to go fight with a bunch of teams that need pitching and have maybe bigger pocketbooks that they're willing to put their hands into.
I would definitely see. I could see them circling back to the White Sox and trying to just kind of go at a cease trade again, not including. The rumor was Jackson. That was a big thing at the deadline. That was never confirmed by anyone. Like, oh, the White Sox wanted Jackson Holiday. Everyone wants Jackson Holiday, of course, but like, there was the whole like they're gonna, that's all they wanted. I could see them.
They're
going
not.
back
And they're not trading Jackson Holiday. I don't even know why that was a story because the Orioles are not trading him, so it doesn't even matter.
No, and it was interesting too on Bowden's list. Our good old friend Jack Flaherty was also on the list, and the Orioles were not one of the teams included. Not that it matters. I don't think anybody really wants him back. But did you guys see his Instagram tonight? It was very kind of like 16-year-old girl who just got broken up with, away message. It's like pictures from the season, and it says, "Wasn't good enough. Simple as that. I'm not okay with it, but I'll move forward. We reset, we reload, unfinished." That's what it said. Kind of.
I would characterize that more as like an athlete putting stuff out as just like hey, here's how I feel about my situation. Like, I'm not satisfied with myself. I'm going to go put the work in. I don't know if that indicates much of like what discussions had with the Orioles. Maybe it does, but
no, I didn't think it was something like that. It wasn't like a subliminal message.
Okay,
It was just I just was like, this is kind of like a weird,
I mean, he can't be happy. He's cost himself money. He's cost himself a ton of money. I'm sure he's got to be, he might be a guy that like signs a 1-year deal.
Yeah, I think that's what Bowden had him as, like a 1-year, $10 million deal or something like that.
Yeah,
again, that was
still young enough to have a great year and get a really good long-term deal.
Yeah, and again, he was kind of. I remember going into the playoffs being like Flaherty can make himself a lot of money this postseason if he comes in, in one of these relief games and pitches really well and keeps him in a game. And obviously, he just never. He came in the one game, he just never really had the chance to. But almost like a Jordan Montgomery, where it's like this guy can make himself a lot of money this postseason. He just never got the shot to. The Orioles never did. So
me and Jim on the same page. He'll probably have to sign a 1-year quote unquote pillow contract with incentives and hope he can rediscover his old form and then go back to the free agent market next offseason. So there you have it. But yeah, I saw your tweet earlier, Arditti, and I was like, this will be kind of interesting to discuss. I do think you're right to close it on this. I do think they could bring back Kyle Gibson. I don't think that would be like total surprise.
And again, that's a guy who they could bring him back. And then again, say at the end of spring training, DL Hall, makes the rotation out of camp. Something like that, or a guy, like Cade Povich or someone like that ends up coming up and getting in the rotation. They can always trade him. I'm sure there's a team that they can unload him to. And again, a team-friendly contract, a veteran who's been there, you need those guys. So it wouldn't shock me at all. Again, people are gonna piss and moan if they do it and be like, oh, there goes Elias, doesn't know what he's doing. But I could definitely see them just kind of being like, hey man, come back, and if we can move you, we'll move you. But here, $8 million, $9 million, something like that. So
yep, for sure, and that stuff will obviously all ramp up in the next 3 or 4 months as the baseball offseason gets going, and we shall see how the Orioles handle being in this position. It's going to be very, very interesting, as we talked about in some of the recap pods after the season ended, of how they try to handle the offseason. And these lists will certainly drive discussion in terms of targets and fans' wish lists and things like that. Let's get to our starting 5 draft presented by Fed Thrill. You get 20% off your Fed Thrill sunglasses using the promo code EXIT52. Love our friends at Fed Thrill. They do a wonderful job, and so go buy their products. Although, let me tell you, it's gotten cold today, fellas. It was dreary and cold today. So
yeah, this is that time of year where every time we do the ad read, I say this is the time of year when you're commuting, the sun is right in your eyeballs, and you just got to protect the eyeballs. And then you get the the frosty windshield that's in the mix that just brightens it even worse. So make sure you protect your eyeballs and make sure you're seeing what you're able to out there. Get your Fed Thrill sunnies.
And surely going to have some more cold tailgating days. You're going to be outside, but the sun is still out.
Yeah. 3 home games in 11 days, I think, is the rundown there.
Wild.
So, yeah.
So get your Fed Thrill sunglasses, fedthrill.com, promo code EXIT52 for 20% at checkout. Go buy some today. As we talked about at the top of the show, Halloween night as we record. There you have it. We are going to do top 5 scariest athletes. Top 5 scariest athletes. I think this can be taken in a couple of different ways. So we'll see how the 3 of us decide to do this. I'm randomizing the order right now. Arditti, you have the first pick. Banks, you have the second pick, and I have the third pick in this here draft. So Arditti, who came up with this today, aptly gets to be the tone setter of the draft. So starting 5 draft presented by Fed Thrill. Scariest athletes. Arditti, you can take it away as I write down the stuff here.
I am gonna go. That's not the right list. I'm going Mike Tyson. I don't really know what else needs to be said. A terrifying man. It seems like personally, he seems like a nice guy, but publicly, I guess his persona is not the best. In the ring, he just seems like an absolute animal. And again, obviously, I remember some Tyson fights. I remember him biting Holyfield's ear, but like, I don't remember the heyday of Mike Tyson being like, that's the baddest man on the planet. But my dad has told me plenty of times, there's plenty of good boxing clips and stuff like that on YouTube that you can watch. He was a bad man. He was a bad man, and just a scary motherfucker. So I think he's a pretty easy 1-1. Kind of any way that you wanna let this draft unfold. I think he's a clear-cut number 1.
I want your heart. I want to eat your children.
Yeah, stuff like that. Going to jail for rape and things like that as well fall into that. But the quote again, I mean, the guy's kind of checked all the boxes for being like the bad guy, the scary guy. So, yeah.
And then has subsequently become a
sympathetic
teddy bear type figure in his later years.
Caricature.
It's one of the all-time story arcs of anyone that's ever, because the entire public persona was built around him being scary. And then there were all these sort of reports about how behind the scenes he was very uncomfortable with the fame and sort of a soft-spoken guy. And then, obviously the criminal charges and things like that too. His is a fascinating story that there's been a couple documentaries on it. I think at some point there will be like the really definitive Tyson documentary, but or book. So,
well, and also like, you remember like he had his daughter died. I think she got she choked to death on like a treadmill. The like cord got wrapped around her neck, and like he became like a very, I don't know, I don't know. It was really weird. Again, he's had some sad stuff happen to him, but I mean, back in the day, it just seemed like he was the
baddest, the originator of the phrase, the baddest man on the planet.
Yeah. So I think that fits.
Banks, you the second pick.
I'm going to make sure that I take this one away from Eric because he's going to want to cash in on it. I got to take Ray Lewis. And he stands as a second overall pick on his own merit. One of the biggest, baddest linebackers to ever play the game. Remember that time he picked up the first down line and moved it backwards? That was pretty sweet.
Those commercials were so good. Those were so good.
Yeah, I mean, he was the face of the hit stick.
Yeah.
Which
they introduced the hit stick with Madden 05 or whatever when he was in COVID.
He was basically the entire brand of that. So yeah, Ray Lewis, easy pick.
Good pick. Yeah, very, very good pick. So I have 2 here. I have one that I definitely want to pick, but I want to try to. I'll get Brock Lesnar out of the way and take him here. Obviously the wrestling stuff is all there, but a bad dude in MMA for a bit of time, and just one of the scariest physiques, like giant freak athletic human beings that's ever been out there. A guy that was an NCAA Division I wrestling champion, won the UFC heavyweight championship. Obviously, he's done all the WWE stuff. Also tried out for the NFL and was going to make the Vikings if he knew how to play football. They said he was had all the NFL athleticism, he just didn't know what he was doing. So, I'll take Brock.
Terrifying tattoo.
Shout out to our good friend Brian Gibbons, who's a gigantic Brock Lesnar fan. Less of a song, more of a moment. I will take him first, and then that's an interesting. I was not going to pick this person. Who do I want here? I'll take Tanya Harding.
You're not taking Jeff Gillooly, but rather Tanya Harding.
Rather Tanya, yeah. Well, Jeff Gillooly.
That's an all-time name, by the way.
It is.
That's a fantasy fuckboy. I'm walking.
Tanya Harding. Scary. Celebrity boxing. Dominating figure skaters. Take Tanya.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Didn't expect that one, but
no,
it's
no.
a good
I had
pick.
her. She was
It was
not on my
on-
draft board.
It was on a list, and I was just like, "This is kind of an interesting pick."
I don't know, like
This is what happens when I shoot from the hip. I don't know what I'm doing.
So that's what we got on Tanya Harding. I am going to take Randy Johnson specifically in Little Big League. Just a badass motherfucker. When he comes in out of the bullpen in that game, that's a moment. That's a moment right there. And I mean, the long hair, the sidearm, just like you can appreciate somebody who does something a little differently than everybody else, and it just is better. There's the sidearm, 6'10", like he's just a unique specimen, and he looked something serious. Like he really embodied like badass pitcher of the '90s. Because there were some great pitchers in that era, but they did not have the aura, the intimidating, posture out there. Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, other than maybe Clemens is in the bucket with Randy Johnson, but yeah, just imposing out there.
And Randy never seemed like an asshole. Like he's not like a mean person. Like Roger Clemens always seemed like a mean person, probably because he threw the bat at Mike Piazza. But yeah, like Randy Johnson is scary because like he's just the most intimidating person to ever stand on a mound. I think like I had him I think listed second or third. So yeah, that's a very good one.
But Little Big League especially.
Yes.
Sure.
Well, again, wasn't that the one where they made Ken Griffey look like an asshole too? Or was that?
Well, they made him look awesome, really.
No, but remember he like came up with like the bad guy music behind him and like
he had the swaggering up to the plate,
cockiness about him. I always thought they made him out to be like a jerk, like he was the bad guy.
Kind of, but also at the same time, like with a degree of reverence, like this is just the baddest dude on the planet.
Yeah.
Like,
and then then he gets picked off by the.
But then he also robs the home run. So
yeah. But that security guard did a great job of selling the.
That was a great sell.
That was a perfect sell job by the security guard, lifting up the stool and everything. I'm gonna go Albert Bell, and 90% of it is just because of the clip of him absolutely sending Fernando Vina to the moon on that should have been double play. No doubt about it. Fernando Vina had a concussion there. Like. Pretty sure his head bounced off the turf just like it was a basketball. And I give Fernando a lot of props too, because he got right up and was like, yeah, I'm good. He was not good.
No, he was so roughed up by that he was just, yeah, I'm on my feet. I'm okay. You're not okay, dude.
He's not okay. Like, if it was football, he would have walked into the other huddle being like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Like, no, you got to go like over there. But again, I mean, he was just a bad dude. He was massive. And then the clip of him getting hit in the Orioles when they're wearing the turn back the clock uniforms, and he gets hit and he had the 2 home runs, and he's like, "No, I'm not going." And they're like, all he wanted to do is hit a 3rd home run, and the ump is like, "You have to go." And Ray Miller's the manager, and he comes out and he's like, "No, I'm not going to first base. I'm not getting hit by a pitch. I'm hitting a home run." Like. He also had the guy, remember he got the bats confiscated for like corking them or something. He got bats taken away, and he had a teammate crawl up through the ceiling into the umpire's clubhouse to get the bats back. Like, you don't have a choice. If Albert Bell is like, hey, you're going to climb up through the ceiling tiles and get my bats back, you're like, you're damn right I am. Again, just not a very nice person, it seemed. He's also the first Oriole that I remember openly booing, like being at a game when I was like, I guess he was 2000. So I was like 11 or 12 and hearing people boo him. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, and I think someone next to me was like, yeah, we don't like him. And I was like, all right, I can do this. And I started booing him. That was the first Oriole I ever remember booing. But yeah, Joey Albert Bell or Albert Joey Bell. I don't think he liked being called Joey, but yeah, he's my second pick. And then, let me see. I am going to take with this one. I'm going to take Mike Vick. Just scary in a whole other sense of the word. Like, again, I mean the run versus the Vikings. Anytime, I mean, it's kind of like a guy in the league now. It's just like anytime the ball is in his hands, you're like, oh shit! Like he could juke all 11 of us and break all our ankles and then just run this in from 70 yards out. And he did that on that Vikings one. Again, if we're going to talk commercials, I mean, the Michael Vick Experience commercial is an all-time commercial. Fantastic shoes, too. Awesome shoes.
Love those shoes.
He was just terrifying when he had the ball in his hands. So I think scary for defenses. And until Dallas Thomas broke his leg that preseason game? Wasn't it Dallas?
Right.
That was right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It was Haloti Ngata with Robert Griffin.
Yes. That was. Yeah, preseason 2004, I think it was. That was the Madden cover curse again. But yeah, Mike Vick, super scary.
Thanks.
Nolan Ryan. I'm taking another pitcher. I got to have Nolan Ryan. I mean, the Robin Ventura headlock is one of the greatest photos ever taken. Another example of a guy who was just built different in his era. Like, just strikeout numbers out the wazoo. There's also some absurd statistics about his lack of run support, where if he, like in games that he had quality starts, if he just got some decent run support, he would have 120 more wins or something crazy. But yeah, he and just the fact that he pitched as long as he did, he's just, you just look at that and the numbers he put up, the longevity, and you're like, that guy's just not a human. Like, I just cannot possibly fuck with that guy.
Mm-hmm. I think it wasn't like Ventura was like 23 when that fight happened.
I have no idea, but
I think he was like a super young, like athletic guy, and Nolan was like 39 or something like that. And it's like, you just don't see a young stud athlete getting his brains popped in by an old guy like that.
It's just dad strength.
Yeah. It really is. It really, really is.
I'm just gonna go off the rails because I already went off the rails. I'm gonna take Terry Tate off as linebacker. I mean, if that guy coming around the corner, as scary as they come, and in the same fictional vein, I'm gonna take Ivan Drago.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah,
literally killing it.
Literally written on the draft card. I didn't think that was okay.
Literally killed a guy. Literally killed somebody.
Yeah, he did. So. And he did not even blink about it.
Nope. If he dies, he dies. By the way, the Terry Tate offense linebacker commercials are some of the all-time best. Just so good. Just
kill the
so
Joe.
Good.
You make some mo. Hey, Janice. That's the best part. Hey, Janice.
Banks.
God, you rattled those off so quick that I'm kind of reeling here.
I can keep. You want me to keep talking about them? I can if you need time.
No, I can handle it. I think Ovi's got to be taken here. I got to take Ovi. Just another example of a specimen that you just look at what he does and the fact that he has not been broken. It just doesn't make any sense. He's just a freight train coming down the tracks when he's got his eyes set on you. And then, of course, you just see him in his office and that puck comes his way and you just know it's going to be absolutely hammered. That's scary in itself for anyone involved.
No arguments here.
Yeah. Yep. Dominating.
Nailed it. Not much to expand on. Arditti.
I am gonna take. Let me take Kimbo Slice. You talk about just a monster. I mean, there was nothing scarier than seeing his videos on like E-Bombs World or whatever website it was, Bum Fights or whatever. The one fight where he fought that guy and the guy's like, he cut him right here and his eyebrow was like hanging underneath of his eyeball. It was just like, this guy is insane. And again, like he was just the backyard street boxer and he eventually got into a little, it was like, how many fights did he have in the UFC? It wasn't many. It was like less than 8 or something like that. Like not a lot of fights. And then obviously he died. He died probably 5 or 6 years ago?
Yeah, weird circuit. Yeah, very tragic stuff for the health condition. He also his late MMA fights were really sloppy and sad, and he was like very out of shape. It was sort of like not like necessarily very out of shape, but like he's clearly washed, and they kind of had him out. What was the guy's name that he fought? It was like almost like I thought both guys were gonna like die in the ring. It was what was that guy's name? Dada 5000 in 2016. Whereas that was like another street fighter, and they just like it was just like a sloppy thing. And then he died like 5 months later. He fought.
Yeah, it was very his rise to fame and death were very like it was a very short period of time window.
It is a crazy rise. He was like a street fighter. I need to find this rating. One of his fights on I might not be able to find it here. Maybe I'll find it as we continue to talk. Like the ratings on CBS when he fought were like the viewership was like insane. Like it was like in like 6 million viewers for when he fought on The Ultimate Fighter. That's on Spike TV, 6 million viewers. Like he was a phenomenon, like an absolute phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very interesting moment in time.
Yeah.
You have another one, Arditti.
I'm gonna go Oscar Pistorius.
Oh,
boy. Just you guys have people who have killed people on your team, so I had to round it out. So just a very scary guy, no legs.
Disavow that comment.
Shotgun through the door.
Yeah, I mean, what is that for Banks's team? What are you talking about?
That's just a.
I don't remember his whatever I think it was the first killer pick, but so really, anyways,
find a new slant.
Oscar Pistorius.
What a pick. Banks, let's get off this. Let's get off.
Terry Rozier.
Scary Terry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good one.
I like that. That's fair.
Yeah, I like that.
Scary Terry.
Was that off the dome or did you have one written down?
That's off the dome.
I almost took Mean Joe Green
on our domes.
Mean Joe Green.
Yep. Almost took Mean Joe Green in that vein. I'll stay in the MMA thing. I'll take Chuck Liddell. There was a point in time where Chuck Liddell with like the whole look and the persona was like considered like the baddest man on the planet. So I'll take him.
What show was he on?
BMS.
Was he on Blue Mountain State?
Yeah, he was.
Was Chuck Liddell on that show?
Yeah, he the one guy hallucinates him when he eats the expired. What are they? Like fruit roll-up sticks or something.
There's a lot of MMA guys that could have been on this list. All right, let's do it. RDT, Mike Tyson, Albert Bell, Mike Vick, Kimbo Slice, Oscar Pistorius, Banks, Ray Lewis, Randy Johnson, Nolan Ryan, Ovi, and Scary Terry Rozier. Me, Brock Lesnar, Tanya Harding, and maybe the worst pick in the history of any of the drafts. Terry Tate, Ivan Drago, and Chuck Liddell.
My honorable mention list may be better than our drafts.
Okay.
I'll start. I got Barry Bonds.
Almost took Barry.
Dion again, anytime the ball was in his hands.
It's personal.
Dante Hall. I thought that was a good one that season he had.
Interesting. The human joystick.
Yeah, that was awesome. Lawrence Taylor. I almost picked LT.
Yeah. Scary for a variety of reasons.
OJ.
Yeah.
Scary.
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
Scary.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Devin Hester in the same kind of realm as Dion and Dante Hall. Kobe. I thought Kobe was, again, when he had that
absolute assassin,
the killer instinct on the court.
I mean, MJ's in there too.
Yeah, MJ. Shaq, maybe. A couple lists I read had Shaq. I was like, he wasn't.
Yeah. There were some like big men. Like I read like some Charles Oakley, like some of those like rough and tumble big guys.
Bill Laimbeer.
Bill Laimbeer. Yeah.
I'm surprised neither of you guys took Tiger on Sunday. Like that seemed like a.
Yeah.
It's just tough to put a golfer as scariest athletes.
Yeah, my mind just didn't go there. That's all.
Yeah, me neither. I'm right there with Banks. Just did not go there.
I had Joey Chestnut again. Just scary, maybe. Sean Merriman, I thought was terrifying. Then I almost took the picture of Sean Oakman, not like Sean Oakman the player, but just the picture of Sean Oakman. And that's all you need. That's all you need.
I had Bolt, Usain Bolt.
I stayed in the lane.
From
Of
like
the
that was like from a performance. Like it was scary what he did. Like watching him. But he seems like a fun-loving dude. Like there's nothing actually scary about him. It's just his performance.
Great main event with Kenny Mayne when he tried out for the Giants as the wide receiver. He couldn't catch. He was so slow when he put the pads on.
I definitely tried to stay in the lane of that like menacing stature, like just a mean dude. Steven Adams, I think, falls in that bucket.
Yeah.
Just a guy who like it came down to like who would you not want to fuck with, and I think he's very high on that list.
Yeah, I had like some other fighters like Francis Ngannou's in the news right now. He's up there. Deontay Wilder.
Rampage. I think Rampage may be like the most intimidating,
good persona.
Ever. Head like a pit bull, and his traps are just like massive.
Yeah.
You could like single out single moments like Matt Harvey with the bloody and the lip, like just a single moment. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna continue to rip off MMA fighters. Like Anderson Silva was a scary dude. Vitor Belfort was a scary dude. I mean, you could go through boxing and MMA for a while on this. I think
Ali, obviously, like.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of heavyweight boxers that fit, like Riddick Bowe and
the Klitschko brothers.
Yeah.
Asim Rockman.
Anthony Joshua, Asim Rockman, Baltimore's finest. Lennox Lewis.
Jokic could kind of fall in that bucket too.
Man, is Jokic good as my fantasy team is quickly
I don't think he's like scary though.
1-0 boys.
Can't say the same for some people. Am I right, B?
That's
not
correct.
Not everyone's got fantasy basketball wins. Jokic though, it's there's some people that are scary with their precision of how they do things. That's the category he would fall into.
The alley-oop he threw the other
night.
night.
Also between him and his brother, like
you could have picked the brothers.
I really fuck with them. Yeah,
I would not screw with those guys either. Yeah.
I'm not scared of Jokic. I'm scared of his brothers. Like,
yeah,
that's probably how he likes it.
Yeah.
All right. Nik Caner-Medley Maryland Person of the Week. We'll briefly get through this, and then we'll end the show here around the 1 hour mark. Arditti.
It has to be Matthew Perry. That is the hardest I've taken a celebrity death in a long, long time. I think Friends is my number one TV show of all time, over The Office, over anything else. Like, Friends is by far my favorite. And Chandler, just being the sarcastic guy on that show, was like, I don't know if you guys noticed about me. I'm a very sarcastic person. So all his lines and deliveries are just so good. I feel like, and such a great show. Again, people clown on it. I think it's fantastic. I've always loved it. I have the box set, like literally have the full DVDs and just roll through the box set. So obviously that death was very sad, and all the stories coming out about it. He had a troubled, he had run into addiction problems and alcohol and stuff like that. And from all the stories and stuff, it seems like he had gotten his life on the right path and was helping. Like, I didn't know, Hank Azaria, I think is his name, who was in, is it Brockmire? Was that the show? Remember the baseball?
Yeah, he's the Simpsons guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Simpsons. And he was on Friends and he's been in he's one of those guys who you're like, oh yeah, he's been in everything. He had said Matthew Perry had taken him to AA meetings and helped him with his like addiction stuff. And he seemed like a really, really good guy. And there's been a bunch of like his old interviews that have come out about like, oh, when I die, I just want to be known as like, I helped as many people as I can and stuff like that. So that was a really, really sad one. And again, I mean, I spent hours and hours watching Friends over my last 34 years. And that was, it's weird now. Like we're getting to that age where like people we watch in TV shows are dying. Like I saw a picture from The Sopranos, and obviously they're older, but like, everyone from The Sopranos is like almost dead now. Like there's a lot of the main characters. It was like a picture of all the like old mobsters. I've never seen the show, obviously, but again, Michael K. Williams from The Wire and some of the other guys, some of the other actors that we're seeing die. It's just, and again, like Perry being, I mean, he's only 54. Like it's 20 years older than me. Like he's not that old at all. But very, very sad circumstances. Again, seemed like he had really turned his life around and was a good person. And again, I mean, he was on my favorite TV show. So that was a very, very tough, couple days and reading and seeing everything is really, really sad. So had to give it to Chandler.
I was never a big Friends person, so I can't really add to like that part of it. But
So
I mean,
good.
obviously an icon in that show, and was sitting with people. Was sitting around with people when that broke, and like it was like everyone was like shocked. Like, oh my gosh, it was a big deal.
I legitimately like said out loud, "Oh my god!" And JoJo was like, "What?" And I was like, I said, I was like, Matthew Perry died, thinking she would be like, "Oh my god, really?" Like a 4-year-old's like, "What? Chandler?" And she just said, "No, he didn't." I was like, "No, he did." So yeah, that was tough. And again, a lot of people. I mean, again, it's massive show.
Massive show. It just gets rewatched constantly. Over and over.
Yep.
R.I.P. Matthew Perry. Thanks.
I'm gonna give it to Movember. We're heading into Movember here. I'm gonna be shaving my face. I'll be growing out a mustache. I'll probably be popping a link out there to raise some money for. I believe prostate cancer is generally what that's for. So I'm gonna get that going. I might be doing it with some coworkers as well. So get involved. If you want to do it too. Join the club, but it's for a good cause, and it's fun to show up to Thanksgiving with a little furry guy on your upper lip.
Very nice, good pick. I'll finish it off here. We talked about this before we came on recording, but Maryland basketball returns next Tuesday, which is important to all three of us, and hopefully they will be good, sort of a fringy top 25 team right now, and I have a lot of pieces to potentially make a run and kind of build on last year. So nothing like a great night at the Xfinity Center when it's rocking in there. So hopefully there are many of those nights as we roll through the season. But Jameer Young, Juju Reese, Dante Scott kind of anchoring the thing with some exciting freshmen, Deshaun Harris-Smith, Jamie Kaiser, Jordan Geronimo, transfer from Indiana, supposed to be very good. So could be a fun year in College Park. Very excited for it.
Those script jerseys are awesome. They're very clean.
Yeah,
the whole uniform set though, even the new ones, everything is very, very clean. It's awesome looking. So
yeah, uniforms are in a good spot. Really for both teams, football and basketball right now.
Shout out to Ben Nash, our guy.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing, but shout out. Ben.
No, Ben is very much involved there. Big shout out to our guy, Mr. Nash, Maryland equipment extraordinaire down there.
And then the Gold Rush, is that what we're calling them? The football ones?
Technically, no. Gold Rush only applies to men's basketball, but that's much more of an internally based thing than anybody is recognizing outside. But no, they're just gold, the gold script terps. So big game against Penn State on Saturday. We'll see how that turns out. Terps in gold football for the first time since they wore the Maryland Agricultural College throwbacks back in 2016 or 15 or whatever it was.
Oh yeah,
the gold helmets with the black numbers with the
Those were weird. Who they play? Did they play Michigan? No, who'd they play then?
Yeah, no, somebody like Michigan State maybe, somebody like that.
It was.
I think so. That's your. But yeah, excited. Those uniforms are very clean. Hopefully, the merch that comes out with them is nice too. That comes out. I think
I saw one of them at Dick's, like the jerseys, and I was looking.
Yeah, the jerseys are out, and then there's going to be some other merch I think that will come out with it. So, and that'll be a cool game. All the game is surrounding of the Lefty Driesell era, so you're going to try to get Lefty to come back. He's obviously up there in age, but they're going to try to get him to come up to the game, I believe. So that should be cool. That's our show, fellas. Very nice to jump back on. Nice chat. And I hope everyone enjoyed their Halloween. Make sure to go back and listen to all of our shows. Had an instant analysis post Ravens Cardinals if people are still jonesing for analysis about that game. By the way, and I need to go back and watch more of the game. I just have not had time. What I heard about this broadcast crew was
oh my God,
was truly horrifying, and I need to go consume that for myself. So I will be doing that at some point. Hopefully before Sunday. So on the instant analysis Sunday, I can give my take on that because it was not just you guys in our group chat were going off, and then I was just hearing it from other people. I just had no way to watch the game.
I wish we could do the impression that you're going into it with the idea that it's bad.
Oh, I wish you
could listen to it more organically.
Organic, yeah. Again, like I had it on and I was listening to it, but I was like on the computer and I would like look up and be like, what? Like what are they talking? It sounded awful. The production was terrible. Like everything about it was just
Yeah, I made a point to you, Eric, in the conversation that having done the Arena Football League a little bit and having a producer in your ear that will feed you like talking points or questions at some point. At one point, it was just like the most clearly force-fed thing where they came out of a commercial break and they're like, "Oh yeah, Josh Dobbs has played for like 5 teams or something or whatever. You know, he's battled and he stayed and whatever." And then you see first down play happens, and then the guy asks, Ross Tucker, like, "So you were a journeyman in the league? You did a little this. Like, what's that like?" It was just so obviously like not an organic conversation. There was no rapport between the two. I don't know. It was all-time weird.
Yeah, it was bad. It was really, really bad. Like I said, I saw other people popping off about it too. So I was like, all right, it's not just me. Like it's not, and it's not just our group chat. So good luck listening to that, Taylor.
Can't wait. As we talked about earlier in the show, Jumbo Set, Spenny and Jake came on, chatted about the trade deadline did their normal in-depth Ravens thing they do week to week, which is great stuff. Ravens preview coming back over the next couple days leading into Seahawks, the Seahawks game on Sunday, and then we'll have an instant analysis post Seahawks as well. Anything else to plug, fellas, before we get out of here?
I don't think so.
There you have it. I love that I didn't miss anything. Sometimes I'm worried I miss stuff, and nothing this time. Follow us on social media, at X52 Podcast on all of your social media platforms. You can follow Eric at EDITTI22, Banks at Barstool Banks, me at Taylor Smyth 10. You can follow Jake at Jake Louque, LOUQUE is the last name. And you can follow Spenny at Ravens 4 Dummies, the number 4. Between Ravens and Dummies, very much appreciate those guys. Appreciate our sponsors. Especially our friends at Jimmy Seafood, Fed Thrill as well, Black Hat Susan Spice Company, all of our great friends that support the podcast. And we will see you next time on the Exit 52 podcast presented by Jimmy's Seafood.